So it's very lovely to see you all. Thank you all for turning up. I want to ask the question, can we actually ask guests to use substantially less resources while staying at accommodation? I used to think that that would not be possible because it would interrupt their satisfaction. It would rock the boat of their stay. But after meeting 16,000 guests and doing 4 years of research, I'm delighted to tell you that guests will participate and they will actually make significant savings. My name's Christopher Warren. I'm a responsible tourism consultant, but I'm also an owner of a small accommodation. I want to talk about two key factors that will advance responsible tourism. The first is knowledge, and the second is participation. If we don't have the knowledge, we don't understand our footprint, and we can't communicate how to reduce it, and the guests will not have the know-how to help us. I think one of the key problems in our service sector is that we neglect the common sense, the practical knowledge, the observational skills of our staff. And we seem to forget that our guests use half the resources at hotels and almost all the resources at self-contained accommodation. Ignoring these will blunt any sustainable tourism progress. However, putting them together will give us a social technology that will empower and advance responsible tourism. Now, I say social technology because I've been focusing a great deal on what's called hard technology. Most of us in tourist accommodation are finding the challenges of reducing our carbon footprint, of trying to reduce our ecological footprint, and trying to work within the limitations of eco-efficient technology a problem. Yes, I've got instantaneous gas hot water systems. Yes, I've got insulation and so forth. But I got to a point which is frankly a green ceiling. I can't go forward because the capital investment and the return on investment and the environmental footprint of all this new technology is questionable, like lithium batteries. Shouldn't we be right now trying to reduce? And by that I mean actually conserve. That means actually asking the guests to use less. Would that jeopardize our relationship with the guest? So I've introduced an innovation called My Green Butler. It's a smart system that provides eco-feedback that helps guests reduce their consumption. After a 17-month trial at 4 sites, what were the results? Well, we achieved over 30% saving in electricity and certainly a lot more savings in gas and water and firewood. Importantly, we reduced our carbon emissions by 20% because the guests had managed to conserve their resources. All these savings are over and above the hard technologies. These are social technologies. Did it affect their satisfaction? Well, no. Or rather, yes, because actually they rather liked it. 80% of people found the interchange, the interpersonal communication with our staff strongly added to their stay. 70% said they found the eco-feedback very informative and of value. Now, I've mentioned the interpersonal communication of staff. That's key. You have to train staff. So you can't just put somebody in front of a guest and say, please use less. You've got to train them. And that means you've got to be able to explain the different technology that's in your accommodation, the advantages and disadvantages. You've got to be able to talk to people, different types of guests, different seasons and different weather conditions, or even different times of day, to help them understand how to reduce. Knowledge is persuasion. But also, obviously, we can't just do this at one little accommodation provider. So I'm now trialing it in 3 countries across several different types of accommodation with some large NGOs and government organizations, and I'm going to freely share the findings at mygreenbutler.com. Sorry, I've got a cold. Now, I've mentioned this whole thing about social technology because over 14 years I've analyzed all our sustainably orientated innovation. And I found that nearly 40% of our innovations were organizational innovations. This is not surprising because we're in the service industry. we seem to be forgetting the importance of actually talking to each other and working together. And it's the interrelatedness between your suppliers, managers, team, guests, and of course your community. Now I'm going to give you a small example just to make the point, because I've tried to impress you with large numbers. Now I'm going to impress you with small things. So now we don't give our guests milk in plastic containers. We buy in bulk and decant to glass bottles. We don't buy pre-packed butter. We buy butter in bulk and cut it into small portions. The guests are part of that process. They return those containers and ask for more. That's an example of social technology. It's small, it's symbolic. It shows we have integrity. We cannot ask people to make big savings if we waste so much. We have to tackle the big and the small, and that's really important. That it all requires training, and the training to meet health and safety standards, but it's very easy for any big business to push the button to say, we now have green energy. It's very difficult to make sure a big organization or a small organization can buy milk at a regular occurrence in the right quantity to make sure you don't waste anything to deliver something as simple as this. Sorry. So, training is essential, and what I've developed is a second innovation, which is on a professional development program. It contains 10 modules. The first 3 are foundation modules of sustainability, responsibility, and establishing green teams. And then we have 4 modules on environment and 3 modules on social factors. This is aimed for senior management of hospitality organizations. All these people out here, they're all very welcome to take the course. And what we're seeking to do is provide concepts and theory in classrooms, and then half the time it's actually implementing at your property and working with your green team and developing innovations. Obviously, I'm hoping that most of those will be actually social technologies. Now, what's so exciting is that this is now being taken up by one government who are accrediting this training, and they're applying it across their world-famous destination. It means that we'll be training 600 hotels, thousands of staff. This government understands the importance of knowledge. You cannot change things if people do not understand the footprint and the methods to solve it. So, at the same time, all these managers will be trained with the same values, with the same criteria across one single destination to create real innovation and progress. So in conclusion, I'm saying that social technology is a key factor of responsible tourism. And if we involve our staff, if we involve the guests, we can make substantial savings and substantial progress. Thank you very much for listening.
Are there any questions?
Hi, my name is Eva Sturm. I was just wondering, in which countries have you rolled out this program so far? Only in Australia, or?
Are you talking about the Green Butler or
Yeah,
the
the Green Butler.
The Green Butler is in Australia, it will be in Dubai, and it will be in the United Kingdom.
Are you looking to expand, like which would be the next places to expand to?
I'm interested in expanding it across the globe, not to make money, but to get some change happening to all of this.
Hi, it's actually in addition to what was just asked right now. Do you see a difference in terms of cultures, in terms of people behavior connected to cultures during your trials?
Yes, absolutely. Culture is an important lever. Everybody is different. And I think the problem is that we are standardizing too much communication and too much assumption. If I live in a country like, well, let's say the Lake District, I do not understand the concept of water saving when I go to Egypt. It's just not in my everyday life. So we have to understand that people have different values and different life experiences, and we have to change that. That's why we need a green butler to help people, to guide people, just as we used to have.
So your solution allows localizing?
Must be completely localized.
Okay, one question for me, Chris.
Sure.
over the year, you've looking into that we can do it, that communicating sustainability does work. What about how we communicate it?
Sorry, how can
How do we communicate it?
How do we communicate
what
it?
tone?
The tone, excellent. The tone is the same tone as that I've been using. It's called politeness. I've been polite to you, and you have been polite to me. We haven't met each other, but we have an understanding of a certain etiquette. It's as simple as that. When you meet a guest that you've never met before, as a host, you're hospitable, but you guide them politely. We use it every day. Most of you have been looking at me with faces looking down. That's called negative politeness. A few of you are smiling at me, which is very nice, which is positive politeness. But we read these signs and understand that if somebody's face is down, that means they're thinking and contemplating what you say. You need to teach your staff, who can be younger than the guests, to read these indications so they have confidence and understand. That's all it is. It's just talking to each other, as we do on the tube, getting the bus, helping each other if somebody's dropped something on the ground. We're really talking life at this level.
Fran Hughes, International Tourism Partnership. Brilliant idea, the green butler, but how can it be applied to bigger hotels where there's much less interaction with the guests?
Well, Fran, this is my argument with hotels. While they start to try and automate everything, I'd like them all to consider to bring the idea of hospitality back to hotels, to employ people, to start talking to people. The more that hotels distance themselves from their guests, the harder it will be. The more hotels standardize their environments, the harder it will be. So I'm not going to suggest to you that I have a magic wand and this will solve everywhere the same way. It won't. But I do question this whole concept of how hotels are going, and that they are losing that interpersonal communication with the guest. And we don't feel being respected, and we aren't treating them in the same way we might have done once. So I think it's a problem with their product, and they don't have the aspect of social technology that is key to enable them to advance, to make substantial savings, which don't cost a lot of money.